Pause absolutely everything you are engaged in at this very moment. Shut down those extra browser windows, mute every single alert on your devices, and completely block out the chaotic background noise of your daily life. I need your absolute, undivided attention because the insights I am preparing to share with you regarding the date of May 28th are going to radically alter your entire perspective. This information will permanently change the lens through which you view your future and the events rushing toward us. Understand this clearly. This is far from a random, meaningless mark on a schedule. It is absolutely not a day you can simply gloss over or treat as ordinary. It refuses to fade into the monotonous background static of your daily autopilot existence. Instead, May 28th resonates with a highly specific frequency, a unique energetic vibration all its own. The vast majority of the population will miss its significance entirely. Why? Because they remain deeply imprisoned within endless loops of repetitive habits, superficial distractions, and completely unconscious momentum. They are essentially sleepwalking through their own timelines. However, you are different. You somehow discovered this specific broadcast. Let me assure you, that is no coincidence. In this universe, absolutely nothing happens by mere chance or accident. By the time we conclude this session, you will have a crystal clear understanding of why this exact moment zeroed in on you, and precisely why you have arrived here at this crucial juncture. Think back for a second. Have you ever encountered one of those exceptionally profound, fleeting moments where the very fabric of reality seemingly turns translucent? Moments where the illusions thin out, allowing you to catch a glimpse of the unseen architectural framework binding our universe together? It is like suddenly noticing the hidden wiring and the silent underlying codes of existence. The 28th of May operates exactly within that kind of liminal territory, a powerful energetic threshold. On this specific day, the overarching quantum field appears to decelerate just enough to grant you an escape route. It gives you the chance to finally step out of the exhaustive patterns you have been endlessly repeating, to break free from the stagnant cycles trapping you, and to observe your life from a drastically elevated and enlightened vantage point, both internally and externally. The cosmos rarely provides us with such profound windows of opportunity or spiritual openings, and tragically, when it does present them, the masses overlook them completely. They turn their heads, dive deeper into their trivial diversions, and actively choose blindness over clarity. Now, I am fully aware of the arguments forming in your logical brain right now. I can almost hear your skepticism speaking. How in the world could one solitary date carry such profound, exceptional meaning? What genuinely separates May 28th from the 27th, or even the 20th? To be completely honest, if you had told me this half a year ago, I would have immediately labeled it as absurd magical thinking and brushed it off entirely. But then, a shift occurred. Gradually, much like your vision slowly adapting to a pitch-black room, or the sensation of gaining consciousness in the shadows, I began to observe distinct shifts. I started meticulously tracing energetic patterns, realizing that specific temporal coordinates actually possess vastly different concentrations of sheer potential and limitless possibility. May 28th stands as one of these highly charged coordinates. It serves as a monumental point of convergence within the energetic field, a profound nexus where massive cosmic energy pools together and the rigid nature of time itself begins to warp. Which brings us to an incredibly vital question. Where do you truly stand at this exact second within the vast landscape of your own life? I am not referring to the superficial, external milestones. I am not talking about the societal characters you portray, the prestige you run after, or the digits sitting in your bank account that society claims determine your worth. Rather, I am challenging you to tune into the deep undercurrent flowing beneath all of that superficial noise. Look past the endless mental chatter and find that relentless, quiet whisper echoing in the deepest corners of your mind, the one constantly warning you that things are misaligned, that something within your reality is fundamentally off balance. It is that undeniable inner knowing whispering, I am only utilizing a tiny fraction of my true potential. It is the sudden, striking realization that you are currently standing on the precipice of a monumental life shift. Please understand, that feeling is not mere confusion, nor is it clinical anxiety. It is, in fact, your highest, deepest spiritual intelligence fiercely tearing through the heavily conditioned, artificial layers of your programmed identity and your fabricated social mask. It is a clear signal broadcasting that immense transformation isn't just a vague possibility anymore. It is an absolute certainty racing toward you. And as we approach it, May 28th acts as the ultimate access code for this metamorphosis. It is a massive energetic doorway that will swing wide open the moment you surrender and cease your resistance against the profound changes desperately trying to birth themselves into your reality. This profound shift must originate from deep within your own core. The tragic flaw in the way society views personal evolution is deeply rooted in a massive misunderstanding. The vast majority of people operate under the false assumption that breakthroughs only arrive once they are perfectly prepared, believing they must devour an endless library of self-help books, flawlessly heal every past trauma, hoard a specific amount of wealth, and meticulously check off arbitrary societal boxes before they are deemed ready. But genuine, earth-shattering transformation does not stem from relentless achievement. It is born from pure receptivity. It manifests precisely in the exact second you surrender the stubborn resistance that has been anchoring your outdated programming tightly in place. The power of letting go. Transformation ignites when you finally let go of that desperate grip on the comfortable, predictable version of who you are. A grip maintained purely because the known feels drastically safer than stepping into the vast, unpredictable void of your true potential. The essence of May 28th revolves entirely around this state of profound receptivity. It demands that you confront your daily existence with wide-eyed wonder rather than harsh self-criticism, vast spaciousness over suffocating mental contraction, radical openness instead of paralyzing fear. It requires the deep realization that the specific level of consciousness that dragged you to your current plateau is absolutely not the same frequency required to propel you into your future. An internal upgrade is mandatory. You are required to expand. The razor's edge of time. This is precisely why this specific date acts as such a fiercely potent catalyst. May 28th hovers delicately on the razor's edge between a definitive conclusion and a fresh genesis. The energetic seasons are actively shifting. The metaphysical currents are in motion, yet they haven't frozen into a solid reality just yet. We are experiencing a period of immense fluidity, offering you the crucial spatial freedom to completely redirect your life's trajectory and dramatically alter your chosen course. Unlike the suffocating, heavy expectations of forced New Year's resolutions built on empty January promises, this moment feels liberating. Furthermore, it completely avoids the chaotic, highly scattered, and distracting vibrations that typically accompany the peak of summer. May 28th stands quietly, remarkably unassuming, yet aggressively pulsating with immense latent power. Naturally, the masses will entirely overlook this treasure, sleeping right through the paradigm shift. But you are different. Your eyes are wide open, reclaiming your baseline frequency. I want you to dig deep into your memory. When was the absolute last instance you felt a state of pure, unadulterated coherence? I am not talking about fleeting happiness, superficial success, or temporary bursts of excitement. I mean genuine coherence, that incredibly rare state where every single dimension of your being is flowing harmoniously in the exact same direction. A state completely devoid of internal friction, where the relentless civil war within your mind ceases, and no fragment of your soul is violently battling another. Tragically, for the average individual, decades have passed since they tasted this alignment. As a collective, we dangerously confuse frantic busyness with actual forward momentum. We falsely equate staying in our comfort zones with finding true purpose, and we mistake familiar routines for ultimate truth. But hear me loud and clear. Coherence is your divine baseline frequency. It is the natural, default state of your existence. You do not have to hustle to earn it. nor is it a grand prize handed out for good behavior. It is simply the beautiful reality that surfaces the moment you cease actively interfering with your own magnificent unfolding. When you stop blocking the universal flow, May 28th presents a golden opportunity to violently jolt your memory back to that optimal frequency. It allows you to plunge back into the sublime sensation of being entirely integrated, perfectly whole, and flawlessly aligned. The quantum permeability. Do not dismiss this as whimsical, metaphysical fantasy or baseless spiritual nonsense. This is grounded in the literal architecture of the universe. We are talking about quantum physics. Specific junctures in time naturally forge profound inflection points, moments where the deafening worldly static momentarily dies down, granting you crystal clear, unfiltered perception. The lunar alignment of May 28th represents one of these magnificent universal pauses. The accumulated noise of the preceding months is finally settling down to a hum. The systemic pressure hasn't yet reached a boiling point. The worldly chaos temporarily dims, and for the first time in what feels like an eternity, you can actually tune into the pure, underlying signal. You can suddenly hear the profound voice hiding beneath the aggressive shouting of modern society. In this pocket of time, the transitional boundary separating the person you used to be from the majestic entity you are rapidly becoming grows incredibly fragile, wonderfully permeable, and almost entirely transparent. Granted, existing in this liminal in-between phase is fiercely uncomfortable. It is shrouded in uncertainty, completely lacking a drawn-out map or a step-by-step guidebook. The courage to stop. However, this precise zone of discomfort is the exclusive birthplace of authentic human evolution. It is the sacred arena where actual growth is forged, where you are finally forced to confront those neglected fragments of yourself that have been patiently hiding in your psychological shadows, desperately waiting for you to turn your gaze toward them and acknowledge their existence. The majority of humanity sprints in the opposite direction. They flee because this level of exposure activates ancient survival mechanisms designed to trap them within the boundaries of what is known, secure, and tragically small. But if these words are deeply resonating with your spirit right now, if you can literally feel this truth vibrating within your bones, you must realize you didn't stumble upon this by accident. You were intentionally guided here. The lunar gateway of May 28th may very well serve as the seemingly unremarkable, slightly imperfect, yet overwhelmingly extraordinary milestone you have been blindly preparing for your entire life. What if this gateway isn't demanding that you have a flawless master plan? What if its immense true power is unlocked not by the monumental effort you exert, but by your humble willingness to simply receive? Everything shifts the instant you drop the exhausting performance, strip away the pretenses, and genuinely begin to listen with your entire soul. Society has brainwashed us into believing that massive radical transformation demands extreme action requiring massive vision boards, hyper-detailed 5-year strategies, bridge-burning drama, and chaotic upheavals. Yet, the irony is that the most earth-shattering internal paradigm shifts often manifest the moment you do the opposite. You simply hit the brakes. You just stop. You cease participating in the exhausting behaviors and toxic routines that actively keep you disconnected from your own core and violently separated from your highest, undeniable truth. Everything begins to change the moment you finally pull the plug on the toxic psychological software downloaded into your mind by a society that literally banks on your detachment, a world that actively feasts upon your perpetual confusion. The 28th of May does not make its grand entrance accompanied by blaring trumpets, spectacular fireworks, or deafening fanfare. Instead, it arrives as a profound, quiet whisper. It absolutely does not demand that you set your current reality ablaze. Rather, it requests something seemingly basic, yet monumentally difficult: absolute presence. It challenges you to wholly and completely inhabit your own daily experience. Stop for a second and deeply reflect. When was the absolute last time you allowed yourself to sit in pure, uninterrupted silence without immediately grasping for a digital distraction? When did you last observe the natural rhythm of your own breathing, without attempting to micromanage the inhales or fiercely judge the exhales. As this pivotal date unfolds, you will begin to vividly recognize the incredibly subtle, insidious ways you have been routinely abandoning your own spirit. You will witness the daily self-betrayal, forcefully uttering yes, while your soul violently screams no, artificially manufacturing emotions you don't genuinely feel, and consistently opting for comfortable dysfunction rather than daring to embrace an unfamiliar, quiet peace. You have been actively selecting familiar suffering over necessary evolution. Let me be entirely clear. This revelation is not designed to drown you in shame or smother you in guilt. It is exclusively about achieving razor-sharp clarity, because you simply cannot alter a reality you stubbornly refuse to look at, just as you cannot mend a psychological wound you desperately try to conceal. May 28th provides a safe, expansive container for this vital acknowledgement, without screaming at you to magically fix everything overnight. It is akin to drawing back heavy velvet curtains you never even realized were blocking the windows, suddenly illuminating the truths that have been patiently waiting to be witnessed. Direct your gaze toward your interpersonal connections. Scrutinize the relationships that completely deplete your life force just by occupying space within your energetic field. The interactions that feel like heavy, suffocating obligations rather than authentic, soul-level recognition. When this energetic window opens, these parasitic dynamics will become glaringly obvious. This isn't because the day itself possesses magic wands, but simply because you have finally granted yourself the ultimate permission to open your eyes and truly look. Conversely, consider the incredibly rare individuals in your life, the ones whose mere messages bring a genuine smile to your face before you even read their words. Think about the conversations that act as a massive, energetic amplifier, deeply elevating your spirit. Yet, this newfound clarity will also expose a heartbreaking reality: how tragically seldom you actually prioritize these nourishing bonds. It will highlight how frequently you lean into the familiar, dull ache of toxic ties, rather than stepping into the unknown, vibrant territory of joy. Here is the raw, unfiltered truth about monumental turning points. They rarely hand you brand new data. They aren't here to teach you foreign concepts. Their sole purpose is to unearth the profound wisdom that has resided within you all along, heavily suffocated beneath mountains of chronic distraction, blatant denial, and worldly static. That gnawing sense of restlessness keeping you awake? It is absolutely not a symptom of ungratefulness. It is not a character flaw. It is the purest voice of your authentic self boldly declaring, "I have vastly outgrown this container. My evolution has surpassed this environment." That persistent, nagging doubt about your current trajectory isn't clinical anxiety. It is deep, ancient wisdom finally realizing that you are still navigating life using an outdated map, a map haphazardly sketched by a much younger, significantly more terrified version of yourself, who completely lacked the immense knowledge you possess today. May 28th makes these fundamental truths practically impossible to shove back down. Your go-to distractions will suddenly lose their numbing power. Your favorite well-worn excuses will echo with a hollow, empty ring. You know exactly what I am referring to. That crucial task you keep delaying, that protective boundary you are terrified to enforce, that heavy truth you are completely paralyzed to vocalize. This date may very well be the exact moment you permanently stop begging the external world for permission and begin deeply trusting the sovereign intelligence that has been quietly steering you from within this entire time. But understand this: the most earth-shattering shift doesn't initially require massive physical action. It is born from an internal, non-negotiable decision. It is the exact second you officially refuse to negotiate with the truth your soul already knows. The vast majority of humanity squanders their precious life force actively talking themselves out of their own intuitive brilliance. They construct elaborate fortresses of justification. The timing isn't perfect. I need to gather more data. People will be incredibly disappointed in me, or I am just not ready. And this is exactly where May 28th slices directly through all of that self-deception. It actively obliterates the thick fog of confusion that you have weaponized to avoid facing the raw, unfiltered simplicity of your authentic path. And the exact moment you finally open your eyes to it, when you fully surrender to that truth, something deep within your spiritual architecture instantly settles into a radically new frequency, elevating you to a significantly higher state of being. This profound elevation does not occur because your external circumstances magically rearrange themselves, nor because the physical world suddenly transformed around you. It happens simply because you finally laid down your weapons and stopped warring against the magnificent reality that is desperately trying to be birthed through your existence. This is the exact reason why this specific date carries such immense weight. It is not because it is cloaked in supernatural mysticism or fairy tale magic, but entirely because it is incredibly accessible. It carves out massive internal spaciousness, allowing the profound answers you already carry deep within your bones to gracefully rise up into your conscious awareness. Ultimately, the defining question isn't whether or not you consciously believe in cosmic timing, astrological shifts, or significant dates. The real test is whether you possess the courage to show up with enough fierce presence to actually notice the monumental shifts occurring just beneath the mundane surface of your daily routines. May 28th holds that challenge out to you, patiently waiting for your definitive response and your ultimate choice. The quantum connection. Allow me to share a profound concept that fundamentally shattered my old worldview. If we look at the fascinating realm of quantum physics, we encounter the phenomenon of quantum entanglement. This principle dictates that two intertwined particles remain inextricably linked, regardless of the vast physical distance or infinite space separating them. Now, apply this to your own existence. You and your absolute highest, most optimal timeline are currently entangled. That ultimate version of yourself, the one who is radically alive, fully expressed, and entirely realized, already exists right now as a concrete reality within the boundless quantum field. It is real, and it is patiently waiting for you. As we approach this energetic window, the immense distance between the person you currently are and the powerhouse you are destined to become rapidly shrinks, ultimately collapsing and vanishing entirely. This happens the moment that unconscious entanglement becomes a fully conscious, hyper-aware realization. Tragically, the vast majority of people live their entire lives completely oblivious to this profound connection. They operate under the tragic delusion that their ultimate dream life exists somewhere out there in the distant future, a prize to be endlessly hunted, aggressively chased, and exhaustingly earned. Yet, the breathtaking truth is that it is already right here, vibrating in a state of quantum superposition alongside your current reality. The only issue is that you simply haven't collapsed the wave function yet. You haven't made the decisive observation required to pull that magnificent timeline out of the ether and anchor it into solid, physical existence. Sensing your way forward, during this specific gateway, the dividing membrane separating these parallel timelines becomes incredibly fragile, exceptionally thin, and highly permeable. It is a moment where you can tangibly feel the magnetic pull of your higher self, the version of you who categorically refuses to play small, who never dims their internal brilliance, and who absolutely never apologizes for taking up space and standing deeply in their own formidable power. Take a moment to deeply examine the heavy decisions you have been endlessly delaying and avoiding. Perhaps it is finally severing ties with a lifeless, dead-end relationship, walking away from a toxic, soul-crushing career, or boldly speaking a controversial truth that might ruffle feathers but is absolutely vital for keeping your soul authentic and whole. These critical moments forge massive forks in your road, creating distinct new branches in your life's path. Faced with these crossroads, most individuals stand completely paralyzed by fear, desperately trying to mentally calculate the safest possible bet and engineer the perfect outcome. But here is the secret. Navigating this isn't about perfectly predicting the outcome of a choice. It is entirely about resonance. It is about asking yourself which specific path vibrates in perfect harmony with the future self you are rapidly becoming. This time asks you to tune into that visceral resonance, It demands that you stop trying to logically think your way through major life choices and instead start intuitively sensing your way forward, deeply trusting your visceral instincts. Your physical body inherently holds the truth. That suffocating tightness gripping your chest when you contemplate staying stagnant. That is hard, undeniable somatic data. That glorious, breathless feeling of infinite expansion when you vividly imagine walking away. That is equally powerful data. Yet, society has systematically trained you to aggressively override this profound somatic wisdom, burying it beneath heavy layers of cold logic, rigid mental reasoning, and paralyzing fear. This is the moment you draw a line in the sand and stop that destructive overriding process. You finally begin to truly listen. Retrocausality and rewriting history. Let's peel back another crucial layer. Time itself is inherently non-linear. It is absolutely not the straightforward, straight line we were taught to believe in. The past, the present, and the future are all happening simultaneously, stacked on top of one another in this very exact instant. Therefore, when you make a radical new decision, you are not merely sculpting your future reality. You are actively recontextualizing your entire past. Suddenly, your most painful history transforms. Humiliating failures are instantly rewritten as absolutely essential preparation. Devastating mistakes are revealed as the exact catalysts that uncovered your true purpose. Your deepest pain alchemizes into your greatest wisdom. This concept is known as retrocausality, the beautiful phenomenon of your evolved, future self, actively sending vital guidance backwards through the fabric of time to help you right now. Those sudden, unexplainable intuitive hits and profound gut feelings, that is literally the future version of you directly communicating with your present self. During this threshold, that metaphysical communication channel blows wide open, becoming sharper and clearer than ever before. However, there is a catch. You absolutely must force yourself to become quiet enough to actually receive the transmission and hear the message. The vast majority of people fail spectacularly at this, but not because they are denied access to the channel. They fail because they remain so stubbornly, obsessively identified with their current tragic storyline and their familiar, addictive pain, that their ego aggressively filters out any new information that dares to contradict it. The masses carelessly brush off their deepest intuition, labeling it as foolish, wishful thinking, or childish fantasy. They willingly remain locked inside the suffocating prison of their own artificially restricted self-concept, clutching onto a tragically small identity. However, this impending gateway of May 28th launches your ultimate opportunity to stage a jailbreak. It is your moment to finally recognize that the rigid concept of who you think you are is nothing more than a fabricated storyline. It is not an absolute truth, nor is it an unchangeable fact. And the exact moment you summon the courage to aggressively question that tired old narrative, the entire fabric of your reality shifts. Allow me to be fiercely direct and brutally honest with you right now. The version of you sitting there, absorbing this profound message, and subsequently choosing to do absolutely nothing with it, that is a definitive choice. The version of you who nods along in agreement but completely refuses to execute any tangible internal shift or meaningful change, that is also a definitive choice. Both of these passive routes inevitably lead to a desolate timeline where, exactly 1 year from today, you will still be agonizing over the same tired questions. Why does my life still look nothing like my vision? Why am I still perpetually stuck in this endless loop? Why does genuine happiness continue to elude me? But listen closely, because there is an entirely different possibility screaming for your attention. There is another iteration of you, the one who is absorbing these words with their entire being and their completely open heart. This is the version who firmly decides, in this very second, that this May 28th energy is the ultimate turning point and the definitive pivot. They make this choice not relying on external, fairy tale magic or random strokes of luck, but because they finally decided to choose themselves. They consciously selected deep spiritual alignment over suffocating comfort. They chose raw truth over what is comfortably familiar. They chose radical, unstoppable evolution over rotting in stagnation. That magnificent version of you already exists as a living, breathing reality out there in the vast quantum field. The only barrier standing between your current state and that realized identity is your willingness to collapse the wave function by finally making the definitive choice. And May 28th marks the exact threshold where you execute that choice and step confidently across the divide. So, here we stand at the precipice. This pivotal date is still looming on the horizon, gently holding a massive, energetic space, simply waiting. It is not forcefully demanding anything from you. Instead, it is graciously offering a profound cosmic opening for absolutely anyone who is genuinely ready to cross over. You have successfully received this transmission. You have heard the resounding call to action. But none of this matters unless you actually utilize this newfound awareness and weaponize this knowledge. I want you to do something right now. Pause for just 10 seconds. Take a deep, intentional breath. Now, ask your soul this vital question. What crucial truth has been desperately trying to get my attention that I have been actively avoiding and deliberately ignoring? Do not try to forcefully construct a mental answer. Just pose the question to the universe and simply listen to the silence. Welcome back. What surfaced from the depths? What visceral emotion did you just feel? Chances are, it is absolutely nothing new. It is a truth you have secretly known for a very long time. But use the arrival of May 28th as your formal invitation to completely stop pretending you are ignorant to it. Stop lying to your own reflection. Perhaps you will vividly circle this date on your calendar. Perhaps you will dedicate that day to sitting in absolute stillness, fiercely committed to genuinely listening to your inner voice. Perhaps this is the day you finally make that terrifying phone call, enforce that non-negotiable boundary, take that massive leap of faith, or permanently walk away from what drains you. Or perhaps you will choose to ignore it all. Perhaps you will choose to remain deeply asleep. But if 6 months down the line, you find yourself trapped in the exact same miserable place, drowning in the exact same familiar pain, and paralyzed by the exact same thick confusion, I want you to aggressively remember this specific moment in time. Remember this broadcast. Remember that you were explicitly handed the chance to choose a drastically different path, to actively choose your own absolute freedom. This day isn't magical simply because of the numbers on the calendar. It is uniquely powerful because you are finally prepared to rise up and meet it head-on. The ultimate question here is no longer about mere belief. It is entirely about deep self-trust. Do you genuinely trust yourself enough to recognize a life-altering opportunity when it arrives with a quiet whisper, entirely devoid of loud fanfare or chaotic worldly noise? When it is just you, standing face to face with the undeniable truth? You already intimately know the exact truth you have been desperately hiding from the exact truth that is designed to set you completely free. When May 28th arrives, step boldly into that truth. Step fiercely into your latent power. Step fully into your actualized life.